Spoke about Sheku Bayoh last week and about how he died after being restrained by several police in Kirkcaldy in Fife on May the 3rd, 2015, and how an inquest into what led to his death was due to commence. That inquest started last week, and on Thursday the 19th it heard from PC Craig Walker, one of the police who attended the incident. An incident that was said to have been caused initially by a domestic. Walker issued a prepared statement to the inquest that said that the only factors considered when assessing the risk were the words big, muscular and carrying a knife. Race did not play a part in any of my risk assessment. He said that it showed in my mind that he was not just carrying a weapon for intimidation, he was using the weapon. He had intent to strike out. If they're using it to strike out at other things, then you have got to go under the assumption of they're looking to harm other people. Obviously knives are dangerous. You only need one wound and that could be fatal. You have got to be careful with knives. He also said that Bayoh walked towards him with a 1,000-yard stare and had no reaction to pava spray. I bet PC Walker doesn't even know what a 1,000-yard stare is. I said in my last video, which I'll link to in the description, that it was maintained that Sheku was empty-handed, as in unarmed, at the time of his arrest, which conflicts with the statement just made on Thursday by PC Craig Walker. However, at this point, I do not know who made that statement about him being empty-handed. In his written statement to the inquiry, PC Walker said he formed the opinion that Mr. Bayoh was physically capable of causing serious injury to someone, and was clearly in some sort of rage or zombie state. In evidence, he explained, that would be when you get yourself so worked up, so angry, that you lose control of your surroundings. Somebody that's got that angry, that irate, that he's lost his senses. And he should know, considering he's a police constable, and many of them do go into that state. He said he wasn't focusing on me, he was looking through me. It was quite an imposing, intense stare. PC Walker told the inquiry that when he first encountered Mr. Bayoh, he was not acting aggressively at that stage, and the officer did not see a knife. Perhaps he got aggressive when the police tried to pava spray him. I don't know. He was asked by Angela Graham QC, what would have stopped you at that stage from parking a little bit further away and observing matters for a few seconds, 10 seconds or a few minutes? Walker said the risk to the public that had been passed. Although there's nobody present at the time we arrive, there's a row of houses on one side, there's passing vehicles. Just because he wasn't doing nothing there, I don't think it would reflect too well on the police if we just parked up and watched him and somebody came out of their house and he attacked that person whilst we were parked up watching that happen. It makes much more sense to take advantage of the fact that he doesn't appear to be in possession of the knife at that point, approach him, try and communicate with him and bring him into custody. PC Walker, who the inquiry heard weighed 25 stone at the time of the incident, was one of the officers responding to the 999 calls about Mr. Bayoh carrying a knife and attacking vehicles. He said he saw Mr. Bayoh carry out a full force stamp on another officer, PC Nicole Short. PC Walker said he and two other officers involved in restraining Mr. Bayoh all realised he was unconscious at the same time. Walker's prepared statement said that he was the first officer to perform chest compressions on Mr. Bayoh. He said, I placed interlocked hands on the centre of his chest and started compressions in line with the training I've had. For 3 compressions, I heard the sound of a rib breaking in the chest area. In my training, I was told if you were doing it right, you might break a rib. Angela Graham QC, the inquiry's senior counsel, asked PC Walker how he felt when he and the other police officers involved in the arrest returned to the station. Concerned for the well-being of the gentleman. Obviously nobody wants to be involved in an incident like this. Concerned at the nature of the call, what we've just been involved in, and obviously just wondering what was going to be happening, what is the process now. When the officers involved gathered in the station's kitchen area, a senior officer told them about the pitfalls of discussing the incident. In other words, a senior officer said, make sure your stories are straight. You'll be dragged over the coals for this one, and if you don't get your story straight, then you might contradict each other. I mean, they shouldn't even be talking after an incident like that. They should be kept separate, not meeting in a fucking kitchen. Angela Graham QC asked him what concerns he was aware of about the use of police force against black men. He said a lot of it was getting reported in the news from America, that the Black Lives Matter campaign was really forming, and there was a lot of news coverage of deaths of black males at the hands of police. Now, what role, if any, do you think that Mr. Bayoh's race may have played in the assumptions you made about his behaviour and the choices you made as to the best course of action that day? Asked Angela Graham QC. To which Walker replied, I didn't make any assumptions about his behaviour. Everything was intelligence-led, what we saw when we arrived. Claire Mitchell QC, representing the Bayoh family, said that one of Walker's colleagues may have described Mr. Bayoh as coloured and asked him if he had heard that. What would he have done? He said, I would have corrected them on the use of the word, that he was a black man. Of course you would. Walker's statement read out in the inquest on Friday, it said, I had a clear and unobstructed view of him, Mr. Bayoh, and saw him with his right leg in a high raised position. He had his arms up at right angles to his body and brought his right foot down in a full force stamp down onto her, as in PC Short's lower back, the kidney area. About his use of force against Mr. Bayoh, Walker said that he initially decided to strike Mr. Bayoh with a baton, but then decided to shoulder charge him as another officer was in an altercation with the 31-year-old. He said, I just decided that the baton wasn't the best option, and that to get him on the ground to go some sort of control over him would have been the best option. To the baton, and I proceeded with the shoulder barge. With both men on the ground, PC Walker said there was an exchange of punches between the two of them. He said it was an ongoing situation from there, just trying to get him under enough control to get handcuffs on him. In his statement, PC Walker said he was not punching Mr. Bayoh at full force, describing it as pulled punches delivered tactically. Bullshit. In my opinion, that's utter bullshit. There are some people who think the police can amazingly not be distracted and do everything correctly and right, simply because they say they did. But I can tell you, even a highly trained fighter, when in the midst of a fight, forgets shit. They certainly don't have time to be thinking, right, I must hit him in this spot with this much force as it's a tactical strike. In the moment, all that shit goes right out the window, and we've seen it time and time again. And I will lay money on it, that is not what he was thinking at the time. And he did use too much force in order to subdue Mr. Bayoh, even though, as already stated, if there was a knife, it was not in his possession at the material time. He said he thought the force he used at this point was reasonable, saying he's certainly shown violent behaviour at that point. Angela Graham QC asked Walker about how he and the other officers restrained Mr. Bayoh on the ground. At any stage did you lay on Sheku Bayoh? PC Walker said, I think as part of having to reach across him, the upper part of my body was on his shoulder. The officer demonstrated to the inquiry how he restrained Mr. Bayoh's arms, saying the 31-year-old was not flat on his front. Now, that potentially could become relevant later in the inquest, as Walker is said to have weighed 25 stone at the time, and in anyone's book, having a 25-stone pig on your back is going to cause some issues for whoever's underneath. The inquiry continues. I will no doubt update you more this coming week. Thank you to channel supporters, especially these guys. Your support is truly appreciated. Don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, as I know many of you will. And until next time, stay safe, look after each other, film the police and other officials.